जब आंखों में अरमान लिया, मंजिल को अपना मान लिया, है मुश्किल क्या आसान क्या, जब ठान लिया सो ठान लिया। नमस्कार दोस्तों, मैं दृष्टि गोयल आप सभी का एसएसबी क्रैक टॉक्स पर स्वागत करती हूं। और आज हम बात करने वाले हैं ऐसे ही एक कैंडिडेट के साथ who cleared NDA written twice, but due to some difficulties couldn't attend the SSB. Then also he didn't lose hope, applied for technical graduate entry scheme, got shortlisted, and after even being in RDC camp with minimal preparation, went for his very first SSB and got recommended in his very first attempt. So yes, let's welcome Mr. Ankit Raj, who has recently got recommended from 19 SSB Allahabad for TGC 137th course and is going to join Indian Military Academy very soon. So let us welcome him and know about his journey of preparation of writtens, the technical SSBs, and finally the recommendation. Hi Ankit, how are you?
I'm fine, ma'am.
First of all, many congratulations for you being recommended in your very first attempt. How are you feeling?
Ma'am, saying as per se, I'm feeling very aesthetic. I'm very
Okay.
happy about it.
Yeah, please tell us something about yourself.
Ma'am, basically, my name is Ankit Raj Kumawat. I hail from Jaipur, Rajasthan natively. I am currently pursuing my Bachelor's of Technology in Computer Science and Engineering from DIT University, Dehradun. Other than that, I am an NCC cadet who have just appeared for his C certificate, and I have a keen interest in cycling and listening to music.
Okay. So from where you got motivation for joining the defense forces?
Ma'am, I had because basically where I live in Jaipur, my hometown, my colony, my neighbors are practically everyone from defense only. So from an tender young age only, I used to play with army brats. Plus, seeing people from army, my house is just in front of the Southwestern Command. So having those quarters and officers and NCOs, JCO, OR cadre nearby only, the market filled with them, the all the army brats here playing in there, plus then attempting for the same. Then all in all led to quite an interesting format for me, having a keen
Okay. So
interest
you
developing
yourself
it
is
all
from
over.
civil background, but you have seen that defense environment around you.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Okay. So we'll start from the written part. And okay. As we were talking, you told me you have cleared NDA, you have already cleared CDS, and now you have already recommended for technical entry as well. So how did you prepare for the returns? Okay. If you have to suggest somebody who is going to write their returns for the first time, what would be the ultimate suggestion from your end?
Ma'am, as per when NDA was concerned, I did not have a particular coaching or something like that because for NDA, I used to prepare how I used to prepare for my examinations for 11th and 12th only. But then when I entered graduation for CDS, I took a course from SSB Crack only, by the way, which is seriously it was really very helpful for me because I did not have to go to separate sources for different subjects. It was really very helpful for me because everything all together, whether it be concerned with geography, history, or current affairs or mathematics, everything was together. So it helped me grasping onto the concepts together and not very differentiated. So for CDS, I prepared from SSB Crack, whereas for technical graduate course, there is no entry. It was just my bachelor's.
Exactly. So how long it took for you to prepare for your CDS first attempt? And how
Ma'am,
much time do you think minimum is required for the preparation?
Ma'am, the first attempt that I gave for my CDS was during my third year of my bachelor's. And as a candidate myself, I would say that one does not require too long. Like I have seen candidates preparing for a year or more than that. But then being myself, if I suggest onto my experience, it took me only 4 to 5 months to wrap up the entire syllabus. But the only point which actually matters is that if you need and if you want to complete your entire syllabus in a shorter period of time, what you need is your dedication. How much dedication you have to sit on a table and actually practice. Procrastination should be out of the window.
Okay, so can you tell me about your routine during your preparation time, which can be even helpful for the upcoming aspirants?
Ma'am, as I prepared, it was like from morning 9 till 3 to 4 in the evening. It was completely my day used to go by in my university. After
Mm-hmm.
coming back to my flat and my room, I used to freshen up for a bit of period of time, say an hour or so. I used to relax my mind. Then I used to sit for 3 to 4 hours in the evening. Mostly I used to sit between 6 to 9 o'clock. I used
Okay.
to sit, particularly, I used to shut my door of my room. I used to turn on my laptop, plug into the earphones, and have a copy and pen. I used to study for 3 hours. Then, after 9, I used to go have my dinner. Then, I used to come back. Then, after 9, I did not used to pick up any theoretical subject. As we what we can say physics, chemistry, and maths. Na? I did not used to pick those. After my dinner, I used to brush up my English, if so, for say grammar, pronunciation, and how to link the words. Or I used to pick up my current affairs. Because current affairs does not take that much of time and in-depth involvement for you for it to stay in your mind. You just need to read it constantly over a longer period of time and it will stay. So that was my strategy of picking up theoretical subjects before my dinner, and after dinner it's current affair, and it had been English.
Okay. And you went subject wise or you collectively took all the subjects together?
Ma'am, in the initial phases of my preparation, when the paper were months back, I used to take on subject wise so that I could take on the topics of each subject very seriously. But then, as the exam used to come nearer, then I used to take on collectively, as in so that I could complete everything and I am not left with any topic which I can say at the last moment, yes, iska to maine revision hi nahi kiya.
Right. Okay. And yeah, so that was pretty much all. So you also appeared for the mock test?
Ma'am, I did once in the month of November, I would say, last year,
Okay.
for this attempt, which is in April. Because
So
previous
yeah.
attempt, it was like I prepared, but then for RDC preparation, I went in for RDC. Then during that, I did not get time to prepare and attempt for a mock exam for the last attempt of CDS 2 2022. But then after that, I attempted for a mock test for this April attempt.
Okay. Great. So how is your preparation going for this upcoming attempt?
And practically being so aesthetic about my recommendation already and having an SSB for the same of CDS2, I am not preparing. I am it's like कि हो गया अब जितना आता है उसी के बेस पे जाके दे दूंगा. But practically seeing na, saying on my own past experiences, my written was never an issue for me. Even if I go unprepared, because there was an attempt, I will tell you, CDS 1 2022, I went completely unprepared. And then even then it got cleared. And
Okay.
my friends were legit jealous of me that तू पढ़ता भी नहीं है, तू पढ़ के भी नहीं है, तूने prepare भी नहीं है, and yet you get cleared. So written part was, it's God's blessing that writtens were always a strong point for me.
Okay. Great to know that. Now we'll be jumping onto your SSB part. So being a fresher, you have cleared so many returns, but you could never go to SSB center na, before. So this was the first attempt and that to the direct entry. So you
Yes, ma'am.
went off there for your TGC 137th course, I guess, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So how was it? How did you prepared beforehand when you got the dates? You had only 1 month, and in between you had your RDC camp as well, as you told me earlier. So how was it? The pressure you got initially, and how was the preparation you put in, which helped you actually in your recommendation?
So saying it about SSB, I got my shortlisting mail precisely on January 14th, a day
Okay.
before Army Day. And I received the mail in quite in the morning, but then when I read it, it was almost at night. And the very first thought of my mail was, why me? Allahabad. after reading the word Allahabad, that my center is at Allahabad, I was like, rejection center. Why only me? It was possible. So I went to my CO sir, who accompanied us, Colonel Dipendra sir. He was our
Okay.
contingent commander for RDC. So I talked it out with him that, sir, my center has been Allahabad, the rejection center and everything. So he said that if you'll keep the thought of that it being a rejection center, then it's better that you don't go, because having a preconceived notion will only have negative effects on your performance. Rather than
Exactly.
having that notice in mind, prepare for what you can, what is in your hands, and what can be done on your part. Attempt for the same, and the results will be in front of you. So for the same, after that, whenever I used to get time in the month of when I was in Delhi, all what 15-20 minutes at night, what I used to get, I used to log on to SSB Crack and YouTube's video regarding different tests, whether it be PPDT or OIR. For OIR, I had your test book, which has
Okay.
been prescribed. So I bought it. So I used to practice for the analogy and OIR testing. Regarding for the picture perception and TAT, I started story writing practice. So whenever I used to get time, I used to go on Google Images and I used to select random blur photographs. That yes, this is the today's photograph. Just let me have a practice of it. So that there were two notions of it, so that I could write on any random photo that appears pop out in front of me. And a second point was so that I could write up. I could have that speed writing habit in a short period of frame, which is required for TAT. So that was my logic while preparing there. So then when we came back from Delhi to Dehradun back, because I was part of Uttarakhand Directorate. So I went for my decatting camp. So from decatting, the schedule was really very tight. As soon as the decatting was getting over, I had to leave Dehradun for my SSB. So there is a point where one should have a buffer time, which most of the candidates have. I did not have a buffer time, so that I could brush up on everything that what I had been
Right.
practicing, so that at least I have a day or two, so that I can brush up it on, which I did not have. As soon as the ticketing got over, I took a permission that I could leave early. I took that leave. I went to the railway station. I took a train. I went to Allahabad. In morning 5 o'clock, I am standing outside the board gates, and I am like, the thoughts in mind. Then you have nothing to do.
Exactly.
Practically, in the way in the morning, it's practically dark only when half of the world is sleeping, and you are completely empty-minded. My thoughts are like, I am going inside in a few moments. It shouldn't be like that I am coming outside within 5 hours.
Exactly.
That scared thoughts were coming and popping out into my minds. But then when I went inside the Vikram Batra hall, which is the screening test hall. I went
Mm-hmm.
inside, I gave my documents, I sat on my seat and having the chest numbers. So the first chest number that I was given was chest number 27, and I was really happy that at least I have one chest number on me. Then while I was wearing that chest number, at that point of time, it hit me that the same words, that attempting is what I am here on, I am here about. If I would be busy in my own thoughts about getting screened in or screened out or conference and whatever, my main focus would be deviated. So let's just come back. I brought myself back and I focused just on my test, which was about to begin. So soon after the
Right.
OIR began, I opened the OIR booklet and I was like, ये तो बहुत confidence है. That OIR booklet was the first point of building up confidence for me, because the level of OIR that I had practiced from SSB wali book, SSB Crack's book, that level was here, and the OIR that it was here. So it
Okay.
boosted my confidence. It really helped me because that OIR was really very easy compared to what I had prepared. So then the second OIR booklet came. Even that was easy. It was just time consuming because in that second booklet of OIR, every second alternative question was from a roll dice question. And
Okay.
I was like, हर दूसरा क्वेश्चन डाइस का है, देन आई यूज्ड टू इमेजिन ये डाइस ऐसे थी, अब ऐसे हो गई, अब ऐसे हो गई, सो इट टुक अ
So
लॉट ऑफ
whether
टाइम.
the dice alike or not, like these type of questions.
Yeah, that it was like dice and it had patterns. So now in the question was in format, every question was the same, that whether this formation is possible or not with this dice. They gave us five
Oh,
patterns of two dices. And the second set was, is this dice pattern possible from this following dice? So now imagining this is the pattern, changing onto this, is it possible? So it took a lot of time. But then what I realized from that test was I should have started this test from the last, because when I turned the last page over, every question was like a single liner. And I was reading the question. It was so easy that I was reading the question and the answer was popping into my head directly without even seeing the options. So
mhm.
because of too much consuming of the time during my diced questions, so it took like I left 4 or 5 questions. I missed onto them.
Okay.
Then
What
came
was
my
the
picture
total number of
perception.
questions? And yeah,
In
how many you attempted?
the OIR test booklet first had around 60 questions, out of which I attempted 56 or 54,
Okay.
somewhere like that. Then OIR test booklet number 60 was our second test, and it had 40 questions in it. So I was able to attempt 31 or 32. So
Okay.
after the
So,
OIR
as you have
test,
already told that you have prepared from that SSB Cracks book, so for the link of that book, they can definitely check the description. But if you want to highlight some of the topics which one should prepare, so what will that topics be?
I would definitely say that after, not only just because of my OIR, but also the OIRs about which we discussed it from other batches after getting screened in.
Mhm.
So everyone was like, especially at Allahabad, because I haven't been to other boards. So they said that mostly they had roll dice questions in their OIRs, and other than that, up series patterned questions in from reasoning analogy. So these two of these topics are quite preferred topics for Allahabad. So if anyone has their SSB in Allahabad, do prepare it. At least that
Okay,
what our experiences have resulted in.
definitely.
So
Yeah,
after that,
also
we
one
had a
more
10
thing.
minute break.
Yeah, as you have told that you had this in mind that Allahabad is the rejection center, right? And you went with that thing into mind somewhere or the other. How was the overall experience of Allahabad for you? And if somebody who will be going to the first time, will be going for the first time to Allahabad, what will be your suggestion to them?
I would say, seriously, with me having the same preconceived notion, after getting screened in, that entire rejection center wala part was just out of the window. Because as soon as I saw my board barrack, there were so many of plus chess numbers that I was able to see, that I was like, everyone is getting recommended here. Why the rejection center actually came into play, or how it came into play, I did not, if I was not able to comprehend. So if
Right.
somebody is going actually for the very first time, there is no need to be tensed. Just be yourself and have a good sense of confidence on yourself and perform your own.
Right.
It will be really very helpful.
Okay. So now we'll ask about the screening part. Okay, PPDT. So generally we have
Yes,
that in
ma'am.
mind what will happen in PPDT, no matter how we have prepared, whether we have prepared or not. So that is something which is very much skeptical, right? Nobody knows what will happen, how the group will be, how they'll react. So please highlight what was the picture shown. Okay, what was your story? What was the main idea of the group, and how did you participate, or how was the entire experience in the
Okay, ma'am. So particularly with the picture for our batch, there was a round table in the picture shown. There were lot many people sitting on the outside of the photo, near about the outer frame. And on the round side, one side of the table, there were three males sitting, and on the other side, there was an object on the table, and one female protagonist was standing. So my take onto the photo was, I saw the photograph. Luckily, I have a tendency to read journals because of technical background, and I recognized the photograph. It was from a journal of C.V. Raman's. because it was a research paper that he had a conference on about. So I recognized the photograph quite frantically within 10 to 15 seconds. I recognized the photograph, so that from which journal it was. So I took on to that specific story only. So my story was that there are two main characters in the story. One is the lead character, which is the female protagonist, aged about 35 to 37, and the other is Professor CV Raman, sitting across the table and listening to the research paper. And my story went on like that: the lady has developed a model, and she is describing the research paper, what all research that she has done and how she has contributed to the world of physics. And my story went on like that. Then our groups were divided of the entire batch. Then, as soon as the discussion test started, everyone had their own separate story. But most of them, everyone took the same kind of approach, that it is a kind of meeting and something is being discussed. One of the approach of the candidate was like it was an all party meet. One of the candidate took the approach that it is a medical board conference and medical things are being discussed. Some took it as an industrial meet. Mine was related to research. So after all, in discussion test, one has to come to a concluded story. So what I thought was that we need to turn the direction to a common action first. So I took the initiative. I said that let's discuss and come to a common concluded action. So then I thought one has said that it was a all party meet. So I could see, being a manner in myself, so I could see that being it a political meet, we can say that it is a current government party meet, so that everyone's topic can be indulged in it. So the common action of our story was that it is an all party meet of a government cabinet ministry meeting, and every topic is being discussed in it. So the story was quite molded already as soon as the common action was there, that the medical conference turned out to be a discussion from Ministry of Medical Sciences. My research paper was, I adjusted it as discussion of NEP, the National Education Policy, from the Department of Ministry of Education Affairs. Then from industries wala point was framed as Ministry of Industries, MSMEs का discussion चल रहा है. So it framed up, and all the stories fit the puzzle like pieces. And at the last, I said that let's start with the conclusion, and everyone confided in me and chose me as their leader, that I can
Okay.
say the concluded story. So I stood up and I presented the final concluded story. After that, the next group came, so and so on. What we
Okay.
found
How
was
did you
that,
prepare for the narration part?
being the narration part, uh, even during my university years, I am a very, I would say, an extrovert kind of person who likes to talk very much. And I have a tendency of public speaking in various events also. So that helped me outgrow my fear of speaking on stage or speaking in front of someone. So having that constant abilities and constant opportunities, so it was not that a big of a problem for me. And having another point that the story fit in so well, it was another
Mm-hmm.
point of confidence that nothing can go wrong. It was another point of confidence. So it helped me deliver it properly.
Okay. Yeah, you were saying something regarding the end, like as it was ended.
As it was ending, we went outside. Sooner and sooner, other groups also came. We also like, what was your story and everything? How did you conclude? And what I found most intriguing was that in other groups, candidates were trying to dominate each other, what we
Okay.
could perceive from other groups. And when the final results came in, because Allahabad has a tendency to declare the results after post lunch only,
Okay.
because the screening tests and all the procedures are done before lunch and they declare the results after lunch, so that anxiety builds up. We went for our lunch, we were having our lunch, and we were like, let's wait for the results. Everyone is having a steaming hot anxiety. That whole mess had a, anxiety filled environment. So everyone is anxious that what is going to be the result. Like there's a feeling that repeaters are very calm. The freshers were really very anxious about it.
Okay.
So then after lunch, we went inside the hall back for the results. Then it started. The psych evaluator came and he started announcing the result. And he said that he will be announcing the results in a random order. So having again the thought that it was Allahabad and keeping the thought that my batch had reported a total strength of 136. And
Okay.
being Allahabad, it was a direct entry. So I was thinking that screening amount would be less
Less.
because it is
Right.
quite expected. Ki maximum 20-25 candidates get screened in. So that
Mm-hmm.
was a thought that came into my mind after discussing with other batch, the ones who got reported. So the calling out of chest numbers began. The first round from chest number 1 till chest number 136 got over. My chest number did not get announced. Second round got over, it did not get announced. Third round got over and it did not get announced. I was like, now many candidates have been recommended. Malab, they have been screened in, and now my chance of getting screened in is very less because whole 3 rounds were done and almost 30 candidates were already screened in. It was
Okay.
already over the limit, like now it is not going to be there. And then during the fourth round, my chest number got announced, chest number 27. I stood up, I removed my chest number there and I went in the lot. And I was so that there was a heaviness in my chest and it just got removed. It was like that
Okay.
I just pulled it down and I was standing there and I got my new chest number as chest number 25. And after that, the documentation process, and seriously, it is very tedious process of filling those documents again and again, and especially the PIQ form. Just after screening in, filling in that PIQ form thrice is not an easy job. Then, as
For
soon
the
as the
PIQ part,
documentation,
what things a fresher should keep in mind? Because they generally have not prepared for filling the PIQ forms or have not seen it before in many cases when they are not prepared. So, what do you think for PIQ form? What things should be kept in mind?
ma'am, particularly PIQ form is one's reflection. According to what I perceived, PIQ form can be taken as two things. It can be taken as one's perception of its own, oneself, and it can also
Mhm.
be taken as a form of liars. It can be taken as both. So a candidate who has done his own analysis, what are his strengths, what are his weaknesses, where he has done his curriculars, co-curriculars, how he is strong in his hobbies. So it is like that. And I would suggest to other candidates also that if you are writing any hobbies or any sports into that form, then one should make sure that you should know thoroughly about it, because once you write it down, that means you should have a knowledge of it, that once what you write in that form can have straight up questions formed in during your personal interview. And it will
Exactly.
be, because that is the only form that the interviewing officer would have, your PIQ, to straight up shoot out questions at you. So forming it up, I left my sports column because
Right.
I am not that proficient. So that when I saw that sports column, I was like, I did not see that question. Let's continue over. And I filled the rest of the form ahead.
Okay. Right.
Then we completing the documentations, we went to our barracks. Then we had a good time. After setting our barrack, then we had a good time with our batchmates
So,
on the
how
first day.
was your group, and what do you think the role played by the group in your recommendation?
Ma'am, saying the role of my group in my recommendation, I would say a tremendous effort by them, because there were some particular moments during my 5 days where I had lost my confidence that yes, I might get recommended, or I've lost my chance at recommendation. During that time, they were there, they boosted my confidence that don't focus on what is not in your hands, focus on what you can do. And being negative minded is not something, it is not a trait of an officer to be, or a candidate or a gentleman candidate to be. So they played a really important role of keeping myself intact with what things I should be focusing on. So their
Okay.
efforts, I really salute to them, the ones who got recommended with me and the ones who did not also. We are still connected. We had, because my board was 19 SSB. So we have a group formed as Uttamunnis, because
Okay.
there's a slogan. Every board at Allahabad have their own. So like 19 has its as Uttamunnis. So we have our group formed as Uttamunnis. We constantly have a chat with each other.
Okay, great. So now let's ask about the stage two. Okay, there are different tasks in stage two, be it your interview, your psych test, and your GT. Right. So which went the best and which you could have improved a bit?
Ma'am, stating about which went the best, I would personally say that my personal interview went the very best. Though it came as a shock to me, I'll tell you about it, how it came as a shock. And saying as which went the worst, I would not say worst, but I would say a part of it went the worst. It was in GT. So how it went was the second day we woke up early because the
Okay.
psych test reporting was at 6 in the morning. So we got
Mm-hmm.
ready, we went for breakfast and reported for a psych test near about 6:15 already. We were late. So we had an earful for reporting late. So we were sitting in the hall waiting for the psych sir to come so that the test could begin. So the very first test, the thematic appreciation test started. So most of the images were not that hard to perceive, mostly because each and every image was very easy, and plus the level of blurriness in the photo was not that much, so that we could not get a hint of the objects in the photograph. So as soon as it started, it was like every second photo was related to drowning, that
Okay.
somebody is drowning. So it was helpful that each and every we have to write the same story. Yes, 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 yes. The only point where I was like was the last photograph, which comes as a blank. So I
Right.
remembered from the lectures that I saw on YouTube that the last photograph you can do one thing, two things, perhaps. That either you can connect all the 11 photographs that has been shown. If they are easily to be connected, then only connect. Otherwise, in the last photograph, go on with a story of your own life, a moment which you
Exactly.
cherish the most. So I thought of the latter part and I chose a moment which I cherished the most during my RDC. So as a third person, I wrote my story there. Then came with the word association test. The I was like, "Ki, this test is not going to be that hard." The word started getting displayed on the screen and I was like, yes, it's easy, it's easy, it's easy, it's easy. Not very hard words. The our entire batch, after getting the break, after the word appreciation test, we got a break of 2 minutes. Then during those 2 minutes when we were discussing that what all problems that we found in the words, the maximum words that people did not understand the meaning were of aloof and boredom. These
Okay.
two words everyone was around, what is the meaning of it? So it was I we were talking and somebody also asked me what's the meaning of aloof, and then I answered that aloof means a person who is wandering here and there without any thought in mind, just practical, with nothingness in mind, he is going here and there. So everyone was like, now we got to know the idea of when we will be writing our SRTs, we'll quickly write the answer of this word.
So
So
basically,
everyone
that
was
was also unusual with happened with your batch. So generally, they won't or they'll never allow you to get up or leave the seat once you're sitting in
yes,
the psych test. Right? Your batch was
yes.
lucky, I guess. I don't know what, but you go, guys get 2 minutes in between, and that too you could roam around.
Yeah, it was really very luck because repeaters also said that this is very unusual behavior for giving us a break, that too in psych test, because psych test is
Exactly.
supposed to be conducted in a non-stop manner. So after our break, the SRT began. So SRT, I just had one thought in mind as I attended the lectures, that during writing your reactions, you should not think what an officer would do during those situations, because you do not know what all situations might go in his head. Just write what a responsible citizen would do or a responsible person would do in that situation. So I kept that thought in mind and I started attempting my SRTs. So there were in total of 60 SRTs and I was able to attempt near about 54, 56. So I was quite confident. After my SRT, then came the SDT, self description test. So out of my entire psych test, SDT was the one part which I was least prepared about, because as per the writing section, I was not prepared. But then wherever the section was related to how I perceive myself and how I know my strength and weaknesses, that part I knew about it. Because a candidate, according to me, should know his weaknesses and strengths, where he should work and where he should enhance the skills. So that was in my
Exactly.
mind. So while attempting my SDTs, that helped me a lot. Having a SWOT analysis done on myself helped me seriously way big. Writing the associate, description, how I perceive myself, how my faculties perceive myself, or how my friends perceive myself, and as the person I would like to become in near future. So it helped me really a lot.
So
Then suddenly,
basically, yeah,
yes, ma'am.
basically people do prepare for SGT. Na? They know this is the only leaked paper in the entire process, which everybody knows. Then also you didn't prepare, right?
Ma'am, same again. I was in RDC. Having that time crunch was really, a time constraint was the problem. I did
Okay,
not
okay.
have a lot of time. The maximum time in a day that I would get was 15-20 minutes, that too near about 11, after 11 at night, sometimes after 12, because there were so many events for which we had to prepare every day. And being directorate seniors, being having a responsibility of 116 other cadets, it was really too much for me. So that
All
time
right.
constraint was really an issue, for because of which I could not prepare much.
Okay. So from here only I'll jump on to your interview part. So as you
Yes,
are an
ma'am.
NCC cadet and that too the Directorate General, as you said. So what type of questions specifically from NCC were asked, and how, like, do you think an NCC cadet should prepare for the NCC part?
Ma'am, speaking about the questions that were asked of me during, which were related to NCC, were like specific questions. The first question I seriously remember was, as you are in RDC, you are quite, this is what the board president was saying, that as you are in NCC and you have done RDC, you are quite familiar with the usage of guns and rifles. So now coming on to the topic of rifles, tell me names of any 5 assault rifles which are used in the Indian Army currently. So at that point of time, I knew names of 5 rifles. Luckily, at that point of time, I knew, because 3 or 4 rifles, there are only 2 rifles which are used in NCC. That too, one is discontinued and second is being discontinued in the Indian Army.
Okay.
So I answered that INSAS is being used, SLR is discontinued, there is SIG, AK-47, AK-203, then LMG is there. So I answered as per on. Then he came on to my next syllabus. Then he asked how many types of grenades are there, what are their caliber and everything. So particularly saying, if you're an NCC cadet, and even if you write in your PIQ form that you have trained under NCC and you have your C certificate, do take sure that you have an in-depth knowledge about your weapon training chapter, your obstacle training, and your fieldcraft battlecraft. So regarding, as I said, fieldcraft battlecraft is a chapter in which we are taught how a section would should act in a battlefield or in a field while attempting. So during from that chapter, he asked me the questions that how many types of section formations are there, why do we use these section formations. So for that I answered that yes, there are 6 types of formations. I answered that what all names are there, which section formation is used when the firing is required or defense is much more required. Plus there is a very funny incident with my personal interview, that as soon as my psych interview got over, our
Mhm.
entire batch was taken to the board office, just
Okay.
for the sake of, so that the candidates know where they have to come for their interview.
Okay.
So for that purpose, they took us to the board office. But then as soon as we reached to the board office, they said that
Mhm.
3 candidates will be having their interview today. And they took chest number 1, 2, 3 inside. So I was like, okay, chest number 123 went inside, and now our interview will be tomorrow. And I turned around and we started talking with each other. The entire batch unaware that chest number 123 have come back outside, and
Okay.
suddenly one from inside comes outside and said, chest number 23, 25, and 26 come inside. And
Okay.
we were like, okay, chalte hain. I hadn't thought that something would be there with documents. That's why they're calling. And we did not even know that test number 123 came outside. We were like, okay, fine. वो तो उनका interview चल रहा है. We will be completing our documents. So then when I went inside, they told us, chest number 25, go stand in front of board president's office. Your interview is the first interview of the day. And I was like, what? My mind went blank. My throat passed in a second. My entire throat passed in a second. That what happened suddenly? What happened to the chest number 123? They were inside only. They were like, chest number 123 went outside also. They came inside and they went outside. Now you go.
Okay.
Then I went to the board's president office. I'm waiting. I waited so that
Okay,
the red light
I'll like
turns
to
green.
intervene here.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
generally in AFSBs, you are told to have a file of your documents regarding your merit documents or merit certificates, your sports certificates, or extracurricular certificates. Is there? It was the case there in SSB with you as well.
Ma'am, during our SSB, this is done when we are filling our documentation after we get screened in. So
Okay.
whenever we are filling in a PIQ, like if we fill NCC certificates, that I have
Mm-hmm.
done NCC C certificate. So while attaching all the documents, I have to attach that photocopy of that certificate. If I am writing that
No,
I am
not only
proficient
for the
or
NCC. I'm asking. I'm asking about your certificates of merit. Are they asked anywhere regarding your
yes, ma'am, they are
extracurricular or
asked.
your sports?
Yes, ma'am. They are asked while we are filling our PIQ form, and they specifically tell that if you are mentioning any achievement for which a certificate is issued by any institute, and if you're mentioning them in your PIQ form, so while attaching all the documents which are required, which are mentioned in the call-up letter, along with that, attach the photocopies of those certificates so that we don't have to carry originals everywhere. So the
Okay.
psych test is the last part where a candidate has to carry his documents. After psych, nowhere, even for your personal interview, one does not have to carry any documents.
Okay.
In Allahabad, at least. I don't know about other boards. So after that, when during even that interview, other questions related NCC, that how RDC started, my experience during the state level when the preparations and selection tests were going on in the state itself, how I prepared, how who took your preparation. So I told him, the interviewing officer said that the instructors from IMA there itself, they used to come and they used to train us. So they're like, you had a taste of the drill instructors then. So yes, sir, we had a taste of them for 4 months and it was not
Mm-hmm.
good. So like, why did you not like the training? No. So we were like, sir, we did like the training, but we never liked the punishments that we used to get. So that one time he also laughed, I also laughed, and then so on. The interview went. Then he came on to the CIQ, the rapid fire question, that how was your 10th, marks in your 12th, favorite teacher, not favorite teacher, why, graduation, and everything. So I answered, and while I was answering about my graduation section, so I was like, now it's come to graduation. Now the thought in my mind, entry is technical. Now technical question would be coming my way. So as soon as I was answering about my graduation, he asked me whether I was an appearing candidate or passed out candidate. So I said, sir, I'm an appearing candidate. So he said that, saying that it's February, you might be in your final semester. Do you have any placements? So I said, yes, sir, I have a placement at hand. And after that, as soon as I answered that, I was like, now a technical question would be coming my way. I was really very sure. But then the most surprising thing about my entire personal interview was that I wasn't asked even a single technical question. And it was in complete shock. From the moment it began, from the moment it ended, that 1.5 hour interview, I was like, seriously. After I came outside the cabin, I was like, seriously? It was a technical entry interview with no technical questions. is my luck God gifted or like what? So I was really
So
very happy. I
was
was
it the
confident.
same with all the candidates in the group, or was it only with you?
It was only with me. The very
Okay.
next candidate who had his interview with the president was grilled, and really very bad, because I saw his face when he came outside back to barracks, and he was like, president did not leave him good. So it
Okay.
was like basically what we thought or perceived, like the ones who were going to the president, mostly who were the from the field of EC, electrical, and mechanical, they were being grilled by the president.
Okay.
And the ones who were going to the deputy, being from mechanical and CS, they were being grilled by the deputy. So I was very lucky that being from CS, I got president, and my interview was done at the very first interview.
Okay. So which came at a shock was actually a surprise or a good thing for you, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Was there any kind of question, tricky question, which you find difficulty in answering but somehow managed?
I would say current affairs.
Okay.
Though I hadn't prepared them that well, but then I revised it a day before my psych test, and after my first day, after the documentation and we settled in, during night I read the current affairs. So the second day, he asked me the topic that what is the current case scenario with the ring of pearls.
Okay.
Usually, what happens with our candidates is like a ring of pearls. That two words, ring of, directly takes you to the concept of ring of fire in
Okay.
geography, the volcanic ring in the
Mm-hmm.
Pacific Ocean related to Indonesian plates, that there are many lines of volcanoes which constantly erupts. So
Right.
I answered accidentally about the ring. I started my answer with ring of fire, and then the interviewing officer interrupted. Gentlemen, I said ring of pearls.
Okay.
Do think about your answer and then answer. Then I thought about my answer. Then I thought that I am saying about different ring. Then I came on to the ring of pearls. Then I somehow managed to cover up my answer that yes, I do know the answer, and I was not lapping it out that yes, I do not know about the topic. But then as soon as after that, thought he might have thought that I am trying to make it up, that I do not know. But then he string shot some rapid fire current affairs, that what is about the Operation Dost batao. Then I answered about Operation Dost. Then he asked me about the Ukraine Russia war impact on Indian economy. Then I answered about the same. Then he said asked me about the South China Sea issue recently. Then I was this is the recent upgradation or the recent problems that are being faced by the world and our country. Then somehow I managed to scrape it off. With the rest of the questions that came along, I somehow managed to cover up and settle what I had made a mess out of in the very first question. So yes, current affairs was a bit trick for me, but then I somehow managed it. So I was
Okay. What
quite,
was the source you used to prepare for the current affairs, and what would be the suggestion for you from you for the upcoming experience regarding the same?
मैम, एज आई सेड एसएसबी क्रैक का जो आता है ना सब्सक्रिप्शन, उसमें हर दिन डेली अपडेट्स आते हैं. आई ओनली गो फॉर दैट. लाइक आई डू गेट इवन ऑन व्हाट्सएप आल्सो, दे सेंड द लिंक एवरी डे, today's affairs. So it's that, because summing up the entire current affairs within 20-25 minutes is much more easier for me during through a medium of video, rather than getting a PDF of 100 pages which will take me an hour or so. So practically it was a better way for me to prepare.
Definitely. Okay, now we'll move on to your GT. So there were some ground tasks and some indoor tasks. So which part you think is more intriguing? Okay, and which one went best out of all the nine tasks? And which one you think you could have improved again?
Ma'am, considering that which are intriguing, the outdoors or the indoors tasks, I would say it depends to candidate, because for a candidate who fears out of public for public speaking, he would be scared of indoor tasks, because in all the indoor tasks consists of speaking only, whether it be
Exactly.
GD, whether it be GP, whether it be lecture it. And compared to a person who is introvert, outdoor task would also have have a tenacity of difficulty for them, because even in outdoor tasks you have to speak up. You have to put forth your ideas in front of the GTO, that how would you cross your obstacle. So for particularly where I was concerned, it wasn't a problem for me because I am an extrovert. I did not have any problem in public. I do not have a God's gifted problem in public speaking. So during my PGT, my HGT, it wasn't a problem for speaking up. So comparatively for my GD, there was a huge commotion a day before during the night key. In our group, the groups were already divided. We were briefed about our group. So yes, a day night before, the entire group sat and we were like, जीडी में क्या होगा, क्या टॉपिक आएगा, ज्यादा खराब टॉपिक नहीं आना चाहिए, ये नहीं वो नहीं. So at the last, the entire conclusion was of the that बैठक at night, जो कल होगा कल देखा जाएगा, अभी दिमाग खराब नहीं करना. So everyone went and the first topic for our GD was how is the rapid industrialization in India affecting the most the economy, living standards, and the ecology of the forest. So it was an easy topic because I would say after my GD, even my GD and the ones we talked it out with other batches of other
Mm-hmm.
SSBs, the topics were not somewhat very tough. The topics were really very attached to what is happening. They were very general
Okay.
topics. It is just like how the general topic is presented with a complicated terms. It is just
Right.
that you have to devise, you have to crack what the crux and the concept of the GD is. And even if you're not able to devise it up, just have a relaxed breath or two, listen to chess numbers, 1 or 2 points. As soon as 1 or 2 points are out, you'll get a very clear concept that GD is about this. So my first topic was this, and I chose that it helped increasing the living standard the most. So I gave my 5 to 6 points by while sharing and keeping a crisp point when the GD is going low and when the GTO is actually paying attention and not in his file. So
Okay.
I presented my points in that particular moment so that yes, when I am presenting my points, the GTO takes a notice of it. The second topic which was given by the GTO directly was that the use of constant and increasing use of social media is affecting privacy. Second,
Okay.
it was economy, the connections, and third, it was the lose of emotional connect. So at that in that particular GD, my approach was that privacy can be solved using technology itself.
Exactly.
The connections issue can also be solved using technology itself. But the problem of losing of emotional connect from youth because of constant use of social media cannot be solved by technology itself. So I was stuck to that point. Similarly used the same strategy of saying the points when the GTA was taking notice of it, and my GD went good. Then the coming up task was GP. Apparently, the shocking part was for us was attempt the as soon as the GTOs explained the situation to us and we were reading the problem ourselves from our placards, we started writing our answers. And the most surprising was that everyone took the same approach, same
Okay.
priority order, that this problem is to be solved first, then this problem next, then this problem next, then this problem next. The priority order was the same of all 8 of us. The only difference that we got was that somebody took 3 people there or somebody took 2 people there. So our GP went really very good because the only thing we had to get conclusion was that which problem required how many men. That's it. And our GP concluded within the first 5 minutes, and
Okay. So generally,
it
the
was good.
most messed up task was very easily sorted for you guys, right?
Yes, it was very easily sorted. Then came our PGT, progressive group task.
Okay, so here I would like to cut you in. Okay, you please
Yes,
in
ma'am.
brief tell me three preparation steps for people for the ground task, be it your PGT, HGT, anything. Sum it up in three major points. What should be kept before going for those tasks?
First point, that you should, before attempting a point or before trying an attempt, you should have a brief knowledge about the helping material, that how can it be used on the obstacle. Second, before attempting your idea, mention it in front of your members, your group
Right.
members, because the GTO takes a notice of it, that how well you are explaining the idea to your mates. And then third, take note of the rules which has been set by the GTO, because constantly GTO takes notice of it whether you are breaking the rules or not, and he
Okay.
constantly warns you that chess number, he calls out by the chess number, do not break this rule, chess number, do not break this rule. So that point should be kept in mind, that by intentions or unintentionally, do not break the rules on the third part. So these three things: have a good knowledge of your helping material which has been given, your ability to explain what your idea is to your group members, and third, keeping a note of the rules which have been mentioned.
Right.
So
Yeah. So
as per
now
my
I'll,
PGT, yes
yeah.
ma'am.
Now I ask about your lecturate part. Okay. So in
Yes ma'am.
lecturate, what were your topics? What was the structure of your content and how did you structurize it in those 3 minutes? Okay, and the delivery, I guess you were good with it because of your extrovertness already. So the structurization of the impromptness of the topic, how did you manage that?
Before the lecturate was beginning, we were like, at least I was like, what all topics would be there? Because I had a brief idea, because our CEO sir did inform me that one is technical, one is general, one is individualistic topic, and you have to choose
Right.
one. So when it was my turn for preparing, I saw my topics, and my first topic, which was supposed to be from a technical source, it came as WHO. The second topic was health and fitness, which was a general topic. Then third, individualistic, was my best friend. So out of these three topics, while preparing, I was preparing on WHO. For the very first 2.5 minutes, I prepared on WHO, like this is going to my structure. I'm going to begin with this quote, and then I'm going to start it like this. And then in the last 30 seconds, in which we are supposed to give the placard back to the GTO and tell our topic of lecture, I do not know what happened in those last 30 seconds. I walked up to the GTO, I handed my placard over, and I said, "Sir, my topic of the lecture is health and fitness." And when I turned back and I was walking to the place from where I had to deliver, I was like, what did I do? It was health and fitness. It was WHO. Why did I say that it was as health and fitness? But then when I reached the point where I had to, you know, speak it up, I structured it as that I started off with a quote. Then I started off, the next point was the differentiation between health and fitness. Because there is
Okay.
a notion, because there is a confusion in today's youth that health and fitness is the same thing. But health is a different thing altogether when it is set together with fitness. Health is concerned with one's internal adaptability, whereas fitness is concerned whether one can attempt a task or not. So I went on with the structure, different bifurcations of health, different bifurcations of fitness, and then I summed it up all well, that yes, one should keep a note of his health and fitness together if he wants to have a healthy life. So my lecturate went that way, and if I'm not wrong, the lecturate was the last event for my GTO first. The GTO first day were concluded on our lecturate, and then we
Okay.
went back.
Yeah, you went back.
Then we went back to our barracks, and when we went back to our barracks, we sat down and we were extremely exhausted. It hadn't
Okay.
been that long. It was only practically max to max, if I say, it would be 1:30 in the afternoon, if I'm not wrong. And we were extremely exhausted. It was like we could not see or think it through that we did not do that much physical work. We did not, we were not like that we ran 20-25 kilometers today, but then yet again we were so tired that we slept. We just sat and we slept, and the entire barrack slept. We missed our lunch. We slept for the entirety of the afternoon, and we woke up in the evening and we realized that we slept for the entire time. And then we realized we used too much of our mental power. That's why we got exhausted.
Exactly.
So then
Okay.
the
So
same.
during the non-working hours inside the center, right? Like after 1 or 2 p.m. daily, what you guys used to do? So there are different availabilities of sports and other things in different boards. So what was specifically there in Allahabad and how or what things did you utilize?
Ma'am, particularly saying in Allahabad, we especially what we used to play was in our ante room of 19 SSB. There are two specific, most specific things that we used to do: play table tennis and
Hmm.
play foosball. Because foosball
Okay.
was only available in 19 SSB's ante room. So all the board members from other boards also, they used to come to 19 SSB to play foosball. Other than that, we used to play volleyball and basketball in the evening, and we used to go for you know casual sprinting around the board because there's a running
Okay.
track around the board. So we used to go, like whoever was interested in sprinting or having a casual jogging, so they used to jog. So
So there
these
are
were a
no
few topics.
outdoor games available.
Ma'am, volleyball and basketball, as I mentioned.
Okay. 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 Right. Okay, so now we'll move on to your day two. Okay, on day two, there were like individual tasks, basically your individual obstacles and the command task. Abhi tak you were performing all the tasks majorly in groups, right? And this time it was the individual obstacle and also the snake race I like to include because all these three tasks require maximum of your physical strength. So, what kind of fitness do you think an aspirant should have before appearing for their SSB attempts?
Ma'am, as per the level of physical standard one should have for these specific topics is like one should have a speeding ace, because these topics have a very, you know, what can we say, time constraint of solving. But then during these tasks, you can ace them up for speed. Because if you'll have speed between running up to those obstacles, you can save up your time and attempt. As per what I noticed in our attempt was that the obstacle were not that hard to be completed, but then they required speediness and accurate balancing. Because the most problematic task that one was facing in our group during individual tasks was the balance beam. Everyone faced a problem. Even I completed my balance beam in my third attempt.
Okay. And then also you
So
were able to achieve 17 of them.
yes, ma'am. So it was like, ma'am, basically, attempting maximum number of tasks, it focuses on whether you have chosen the right approach of tackling the obstacle in the correct order or not.
Exactly.
Everyone has a different perception of the order because you are given 30 seconds to find about what track you are going to take. So taking on that approach, you can approach. Everyone has a different. I had my different. So I started with obstacle number 7, then 10, then 9, then 8, then 6. I took an as a boundary approach. So
So,
all my
on what basis you decide to go on to that approach?
ma'am, I decided that rather than approaching point wise, it would, the distance between the obstacle would take on too much of my time because only 3 minutes are there. So I took it as a boundary because all the obstacles were around the boundaries of the course. So it was much
Right.
easier than completing it border wise because the distance is less. It would take me less time for completing it. So I took it that approach. So and that too, being an NCC cadet, I was physically apt at that point of time, coming from our state, from RDC. So that also helped me in completing my task really quick.
Okay. So now I'll quickly jump onto the conference. So how was the conference? What was the mahol inside your barracks and everything before the conference day? How did you tackle that anxiousness inside, and how did you felt when finally the result was declared and your chest number being called out?
Ma'am, as per my conferences required, matlab is concerned, it was really very anxious moment for me because it was the only day we
Mm-hmm.
were asked to report at 9 a.m. in the morning. So we woke up relaxed, we had our breakfast and we went to the conference room. Then we were waiting as the chest number were being called out. है ना? So the chest number before me, he went in front of me. He came outside the conference hall in front of me. And I was sitting on a chair waiting for my chest number to be called out. And so 5 minutes went by. My chest number did not get displayed. I was like, okay, it's fine. Itna to discussion it takes on. 10 minutes went by, yet it did not go by. 15 minutes, my chest number did not come. 20 minutes came, the chest number did not come. The candidate who went before me went outside, he had his refreshment, and he came back to the conference hall and he commented, "You still did not went inside." And I was like, "It's still your chest number, brother. My chest number is not there." And that anxiety got built up because of the command task that happened yesterday. So after 20-25 minutes, near about, my chest number got displayed and I went inside. So as I was sitting, as it is a tradition that whoever takes on your conference is a person who did not take your personal interview. So my personal
Okay.
interview, as it was taken by the president, my conference was taken by the deputy president. So he asked me how my stay was here, and he particularly asked which task I could have performed better. To which I had said that a command task would be one which I could have performed better. To which there was a slight reaction because my GTO laughed at that point of time. I was seeing my GTO. So he laughed at that particular moment. And as soon as that question was over, the deputy said, "Okay, candidate, now there's nothing that we would like to continue about. You can leave the conference hall." And I was like, it's been only 30 seconds that I have been entered inside. So I stood and I greeted and I went outside and I was like, is it done? My conference is over. And I had that anxiousness inside. So we were waiting for everyone's conference to be over with. Then we again went inside the conference hall. Then we were just discussing that, ye kya hua, how did it went, how was yours. Then one of the candidates were like, सबकी conference हो गई भाई, 5 दिन हो गए, now relax, what is going to happen is going to happen. Then it was the breaking point for everyone. Then everyone started, pulling each other's legs to create a lighter environment
Environment,
altogether.
right?
Then the officers came. The one, he is the colonel and he was a psych evaluator.
Okay.
So he came.
Mm-hmm.
He told us that being recommended or not recommended is one thing aside. Then if you're not recommended, then do an analysis on yourself and come back strong the next time. After that, he said that they expected a lot from our batch, but yet again only three have been recommended. And he said that only three have been recommended, and the thought came into my mind, there are two times previously recommended in my batch. अगर ये दो ये ले गए तो एक में तो कहाँ ही मेरा आना है. So I was relaxed. I like, okay, fine. Then the first chest number he called out as chest number 18. I was really happy for chest number 18 as he was my partner during my command task. Then he announced chest number 25. And my reaction to chest number 25 was that I was looking here and there like this. Who's chest number 25? Then the psych pointed me out, chest number 25. And to the candidate sitting next to me, I said, यार कौन है ये बदतमीज चेस्ट नंबर 25 खड़ा ही नहीं हो रहा सर ने 2 बार बोल दिया. Then he said it to me, it's you only. And I was like, then I saw now that yes, I chest number 25. Then I stood up and there is a particular set of information that we have to repeat in a particular set of order. I was so numb at that point of time. I went so numb that I repeated that information in exact reverse order which was asked. Exactly reverse order. And I was like, okay. I removed my chest number and I went where we were asked to stand if our chest number had been called out. Then we were there, and the last chest number that he called out was chest number 20. He closed the file and he was going outside the conference hall, and we don't know what happened. He suddenly opened the file and he turned the page over, and he said, chest number 15, you have also made it, and he left the conference hall. The how shocked, how for shock the recommendation came for us. The level of shock for chest number 15 was extreme to that also, that he could not comprehend that was he recommended or was he not recommended. He was in complete utter confusion. When the
Right.
NCO sir who was there from our board, he said that you also got recommended. Then he also came and joined us. Then we went to take our stuff from the sheds. As we were coming back, all the conference route candidates left, and then we were filling our documents. And that was the first time when we were filling our documents now after recommendation, we saw the 4 chest numbers as with plus coming on. And we were so that particular moment, just by seeing those plus chest numbers, because we had that thought in mind. We had also seen those plus chest numbers before, but then that particular moment when we had the feeling, yes, these chest numbers are not for anyone else but for us only. That was the moment when we went completely out, completely aesthetic, that yes, we were totally in the moment. We wore our chest numbers and we started filling the documents again, and chest number 18 says to all of us that, is it not going na कि हम सारे documents भर देंगे और फिर आके बोलेंगे ये तो prank था, you have not been recommended. And at that exact particular moment, the board president walked in the room and he said, no, it's not a prank, you have been recommended. And we stood up, we shook hands, and he congratulated all of us. Then we again went on completing our documents, and that's how the day of our conference went.
Okay. So it was actually a very brief description of the entire 5-day process. And I think somebody who might even not aware now will be.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
So now you'll be joining the IMA, the same Dehradun you have been from so many years. Now you'll be again going for the training to the same place. And IMA, you are coming from IMA to your SSB and now being trained there in the IMA. How is the feeling?
I'm saying as per se, I am still fixated on the point when I'll enter those gates as a gentleman cadet. That's it. After that point, it is going to be a story which I'll look after entering the academy as a GC. Because
Mm-hmm.
till now I have been to IMA for various times, but as an NCC cadet or for a different reason altogether. But now I have that now. Yeah, next time when I'll be entering IMA, it will not be as an NCC cadet. It will not be as a student of any university here for a visit, but it will be as a cadet of the academy itself. It will be as a gentleman cadet for which I have given myself everything. So I am
Okay.
still fixated on that point. The training part whatsoever, I know how it is going to be. So I am thinking that yes, when I'll enter, I'll think about that after that.
Okay, so very recently you are going to get your merit list or your joining letter, right? Within 2 or 3 months max. What are your plans before joining the academy?
Traveling.
Okay, what all places are you
I
planning
have
to travel?
I have 2-3 places in mind. Vrindavan, I'm going with my friends. Then there's a place in Rudraprayag. There's a temple there, and it is the only temple in North India of Lord Kartikeya. So I'm planning to go there, and I'm planning to go to Udhampur, Kashmir.
Okay.
So these 3 places are in my mind. So I'll travel to these 3 places.
Okay, so it was nice talking with you. Final words I would like to ask that what or how was SSB crack helpful in your preparation? Along with that, what will be the final suggestions for the upcoming freshers will be going to appear for the SSB for the very first thing?
Ma'am, SSB Crack helped me catching on to the concepts in a very easy manner rather than the complicated ways one would find that, yeah, this is a roundabout approach. But SSB Crack gave me a very short and briefed up approach that yes, this is the concept, this is how you can approach it with the easy understanding. And the what I could suggestions I would like to give to the new freshers, it's like have attempt what you have in hand, not with the thought that you have to get recommended or you have to prove someone. Go with an empty mind, with just a thought that attempt for your own sake, and attempt with your 100% with just that particular thing in mind. Because as I attempted, I know that what it is like to being stressed about entire thing together. And when I started focusing on, breaking the entire big problem into stepwise thing, like, yes, now I'll focus just on my screening test. Screening में 100% देना है, then psych में 100% देना है. So that was really helpful for me. So focus your energy on stepwise problems rather than putting in your focus entirely on the entire big thing. Focus on what you have at hand. That is my last advice for that.
Okay, so thank you so much, Ankit. It was very good and deep knowledge which you have given regarding your own SSB attempt to the people around listening to you. And again, all the very best. You already have this officer-like figure already, right? It's like I'm already talking with an officer. So all the very best to the journey ahead. And yeah, don the uniform with all the strengths and everything you have. Bye bye, take care. And again, all the best for the upcoming journey.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yeah. So I hope अंकित के इस इंटरव्यू से आपको बहुत कुछ सीखने को मिला होगा. And if you are also a fresher who is going to appear for the SSB for the very first attempt, all the very best, and also share this video with all the friends of yours who are going to appear for their SSB. And if you need any kind of help or you need a link for the books, you can find it in the description. And rest, for any particular help, you can reach out to us. Rest, all the very best. Work hard, achieve well, and live your dreams. Bye bye, take care, and Jai Hind.
अगर आप एक डिफेंस एस्पिरेंट हैं और SSB इंटरव्यू, NDA, CDS, FCAT जैसे एग्जाम्स के लिए प्रिपेयर कर रहे हैं तो आप SSB क्रैक एग्जाम्स के कोर्स को चेक करना ना भूलें. आप हमारी लर्निंग एप्लीकेशन को गूगल प्ले स्टोर से भी डाउनलोड कर सकते हैं.